doesn't look good. So why rest of the others don't want to write this one? What something that hinders you to do this one? Because once you decided that you want to do your masters, you want to do a PhD, that means you are interested to be a scientist at one point of your career stage, right? And you know that writing a research paper is one of the key thing for your success. But something should be there that stops you not to go through that process. I need few points that you need to say that what that makes you not to be interested to write a paper. Anything you feel like. For example, for me, at the beginning when I was doing PhD, language is the biggest barrier for me. But I think myself maybe that I'm not a Western person. Right? I'm not born in a Western. My language is not a one day language. So it's there. Right? So language is the biggest barrier. So you can get what your barrier. Just one answer other than language. What that makes you not be interested in writing. Okay. So we will go through all the process. So let us see one by one what is the biggest one. So today I'm going to talk about with my experience as a primary supervisor for movie and as well as a senior editor of Plant Disease Journal and also as an associate editor of BMC Plant Biology and Audience Expansion. So we will go through the whole thing. What are the common mistakes that we normally find in writing a research review article? So first of all, how do you select journal? As our dean said, the most important thing that you have to make sure before writing a paper, what journal do you target based on impact factor or do you target based on subject areas? Which is the one do you want to target? And why? What do you want to select a subject area? So going for impact factor. Because our dean said that we all expect you to submit a paper in a journal that has non-static impact, right? So you need to talk about only the non-static impact, right? You don't need to worry about subject, right? But if you want your paper to be cited by your colleagues or other collaborators, the most important thing for a subject area. Only if you go to for a subject area, you get a very good. For example, if I am doing a research on genetics, I would definitely prefer to go for theoretical and applied genetics. Although the impact for the chance for my article to be cited is much higher compared to for a top journal, which is different. So the key point for a subject area journal is more citation and more recognition for the because most of the people want the genetics, they will first prefer to go on look at theoretical application. So, so is it timing so important? Why? Because title is a key thing, right? When you want to watch a movie, you know that how much the title is so important, right? That's where now you can see all the cine stars, they want to have a series like for one, for two, right? Because people in mind, they got the first to be the best, it is be the best, right? So that's why even they want to have the same kind of mind that they will have more attracting the users or audience, right? The same thing is important for a journal. The title is super important. Can anybody, by the given title, can anybody understand what it is about? Right?
Unless somebody who is working on a molecular marker, nobody else would be knowing what is meant by CASP, right? And there are a lot of mistakes. Next point. So you can clearly see that there are at least 6 mistakes. The first thing is that typo. Instead of FOR, they have written for. It completely changes the meaning, right? For means distance, right? FOR means for, to indicate something. So clearly you can see that when you are typing and if you just change A instead of O, it completely changes the meaning, right? So this is one of the very common mistakes that I can see in most of the manuscript. And the next one, avoid short form in the title. Nobody knows about CAS unless somebody working on that particular one. And the third important one, title should include every single detail. Like if you are reading the title, you should know what this paper should be about. And the fourth one, unnecessary use of uppercase, lowercase. For example, in this case, you can say wheat. Wheat is a crop, so it doesn't need to have the W as a capital, right? And the fifth one, nobody knows what is meant by YR63, right? So you need to define what is YR63. And the sixth one, if it's a gene, it has to be a italics. So there is a certain format that you have to follow it up. Next one. So clearly, you can read, you can compare the two title, right? Identification of single nucleotide polymerism marker linked to the Cyprus disease resistant gene YR63 in wheat. Can you find the difference between the first title and the last title? Right? I don't need to go into the abstract. I don't need to go into the details of the paper. Just based on the title, I can clearly see that this is what the paper will be. The paper will be for the SNP marker for the Cyprus disease resistant gene in wheat. So it has to be self-explanatory. The whole title has to have all the information what the paper is about. Next time. And the next important one is author affiliation. There are so many mistakes in this one. Right? Can you pick up mistakes in this one? Right? There are a lot of mistakes. Next click. So you can compare, right? The first thing is that nobody going to know where is Toowoomba. Toowoomba is a city, small city next to Brisbane. Nobody is going to know where it is, right? And the other thing, AIS. Who knows what is AIS, right? And the third one, you can see that clearly they have written all the full form. And the fourth one, nobody knows what is in the bracket, why there is an A. So it is not uniform. So the most important one you can see in the bottom right, everything is uniform. Just the institute name, the department name, institute name, city, state, country. Right? So it has to be, you need to follow uniform format. Try to avoid abbreviations. It has to be a full form. Next slide. And the most important one, once if somebody has seen the title of the paper, for them to drive attention to read the whole paper is the next one is the abstract. So abstract is nothing but the summary of what you want to, what you have done. And particularly if you have any typical abstract, it should have these following things. First thing is background. Importance of the topic in 1 or 2 sentences. What is the study about? And the second important one is knowledge gap. What is missing so far? What they have done in this title so far? What is missing? And the other important one is result. What did you have done? What you found? And the fourth one, summary, conclusion. What you are going to say about what you found, right? So you need to clearly assign that background, knowledge gap, result, conclusion. For many of the journals now, what they have done is instead of giving a one full paragraph style, now they started introducing subtitles even in abstracts because they want to make sure that they have all these points. And the other, so that's where clearly what you have to do is the common mistakes we see normally in abstract is abbreviations. Please don't include any abbreviations in abstract. Abstract has to be stand on its own. And the second important one, it has to be more and more generic. It should not be too scientific. And the third point is avoid references in abstract. You cannot include references. Abstract is a piece of summary that anybody can able to be understand. Not only who are expert in the subject, but also who are away from the subject as well. Next one. And the other important thing is the keywords. If somebody don't want to read the abstract, they just want to look at the keywords. And the keywords should be very few words, and that should represent the whole aspect of the paper. If you are working on wheat, it can be wheat. If you are working on markers, single nucleotide polymorphism. If you are working on stripe rust, that's it. These are the 4 words that you want to be there. So that markers, stripe rust resistance, wheat. That's what you want to know. So it has to be only few words that should represent the whole aspect of the paper. Next one. So now you can clearly see that increasingly they have started introducing graphical abstract because everybody is in a rush. They really want to do a quick scan. So if you have a graphical abstract, it's very, very easy, right? Because we are all fond of pictures, right? Instead of reading through the text, we really want to know about pictures. So here you can clearly see an example of a graphical abstract. So clearly it says, right, pre-harvest treatment, what you have to do, post-harvest treatment, what you have to do, how that can prevent aflatoxin contamination. Just 3 illustration that can clearly say the whole aspect of the paper. And this particular graphical abstract is really getting popular, particularly for high impact journals. So you need to have an idea about how you can represent the whole aspect of the paper into a very pictures that is more understandable to everybody. Here you can clearly see that a person with the spraying thing, that means they are going to spray, and the other one a bag with one of the grains or something, that means it's a storage bag. And this one bread, that means it's a eatable thing, processed food that we want to make it free from pathogen. That's all. Next one. So the other important one is introduction, right? So introduction is super important because if somebody is new to the subject, if somebody is new to the topic, if they want to know more about your research area, if they want to know more about your thesis topic, definitely you need to give a very good introduction, right? And one of the important aspect of introduction is background. For example, if somebody is working in economics on a supply chain management, you have to introduce what is meant by supply chain, how it is important for a farming, right? That's the important one. You need to give a background, the aspect that you are going to do research, why it is important, in what aspect it is important for consumers or the industries or the farmers, right? And the next important one, research gap, because research is something going on for hundreds of years, right? So why you want to do something research? Why can't you use the research that has been done previously? What is missing? What is missing from the previous studies? So that's where research gap. And then you need to have objectives. What you are going to find out, how you are going to find out. What kind of, either it can be something like you are going to use a smart technique, like machine learning or artificial intelligence, something that is unique, that has been not used before. So the objective has to say that I'm going to solve this research gap using an advanced technique or using an advanced data. Something there should be catchy in the objective that, yes, I'm going to do this one. And the second important one is have a thorough literature search on your topic. This is very, very important. Because the moment when we get a paper for editing or review, we just cut and paste the heading of your manuscript, title of your manuscript in Google Scholar, and immediately you can see in the last 2 years, you can see who are all the other published papers. And then we pick up some of the authors in those papers as your reviewer to review your paper, because we know that they are the experts in your area. Because not all the editors or senior editors are be an expert in all the areas or your area. So the moment your paper goes to somebody, the first thing they will check is, have they cited my work? Have they recognized me as a big person in this area? The moment you try to avoid their research paper or something, they immediately think that this is not a good work. Yeah, because there are a lot of human elements that really plays a role. By chance, if your paper has go to somebody whose paper you have cited 3 or 4 papers of them, they feel very proud that yes, you have recognized his work, you have cited their paper, so they are good people. So I need to look after them, right? Just the final decision to reject or accept a paper is just a fraction of second things, right? So in every single aspect that you are drafting your paper, you need to make a room that it doesn't matter whoever reviews your paper, they are going to have a good opinion about all the authors, right? There are lots and lots of good papers, but because they forget to recognize or acknowledge their previous researchers in that area, their papers have got rejected. And particularly the handling editor, once the reviewers say that reject, we cannot change that particular one. We have to clearly follow up the recommendation from the reviewers. So that's where super important that it doesn't matter whether you're going to do the same work that your collaborators or competitors are doing, still you have to acknowledge. So that is where, because we always feel that we want to show that our work is the novel work. So you feel that, oh, if I refer or if I cite the similar work that has been done 1 year before, you feel that, oh, if I cite that one, they may think that it's not a novel work. That is not the case. You need to cite it and you need to show what is different, what you are going to update from the previous work. And the third important one, not having proper reference, because these days what happen, most of the journals, they have a preprint, something that is published before it has been formally allotted to a volume or an issue. So sometimes if you have your paper accepted in November or December 2024, it will be actually published in February or March 2025. So there are, whenever you are going for searching an article, you will always find that the online version comes first. So by mistake, you try to say that Ram et al. 2024, but actually if you see that, it might be belonging to January edition of 2025. So that means Ram et al., it should be Ram et al. 2025. So that is some of the really common mistake we have seen. And sometimes you feel like when you are drafting the paper might be online version, which will be like October 2024. By the time you are submitting your journal or manuscript, it will be December 2024. So you need to make sure when you are at the time of submitting your manuscript, you are going to give the right year of the publication of the cited article. And then that's the other 4 common mistake is writing wrong years. Sometimes in the text you may have referred to an online published date, and in the reference you might have the journal version of that. So it will be 2024 in manuscript, and in the reference it will be 2025. So it won't match. So before, when we are going to handle the manuscript for review, there will be technical editors who will look after formatting, grammatic errors and references. Only when they pass through these ones, it will go to the next stage. Otherwise, it won't go to the next stage. It will be blocked at the technical editors level. So you have to make sure you won't make any room for any kind of errors. And the fifth one, confusion with the last name. I know particularly when we have long names like Spanish names like this one, John Adam D. Sylvia, right? It's really confusing. Although there is an hyphen, so in this particular one, the last name has to be Adam D. Sylvia. It's a one single name at the end. So always the last word, which is independent of the first or middle name, has to be the final one. Next one. So materials and methods. Because if you have a research article and if the reviewer couldn't understand the methods, how do you think that they can have a good interpretation of your results, right? If they don't know how you have done your experiments, they are not going to understand how you did it. Definitely, they are not going to understand the results. So in most cases, one of the common mistake we have seen is not providing complete details. Most of the time, just copying the method section from a different paper and not providing enough information. And one of the very good advantage of having a detailed materials and method is that even if somebody not working in that area, if they really want to understand, sometimes they cross refer. I have seen there are a lot of papers where the paper has been cited only for a detailed methods. Because these days it's really hard to find a paper that has a complete information of the method, whole method. So, and the most common mistake that we found is errors in units, not consistent. Sometimes you may have hour, HOUR, sometimes you put H, sometimes you put HR. Make sure you follow a uniform format and make sure you follow the same style. For example, sometimes offer the number 3 microliter, sometimes you leave a space, sometimes you don't leave a space, sometimes you leave space between the percentage and the numerical, sometimes you write percentage PER space CENT, sometimes you write percent. There are so many typo mistakes that we can commonly find it. So you have to make sure you follow a uniform format throughout the manuscript. One of the best place to find out how to cite these units and things is to look at the previously published papers in the same journal. That will be the quickest way to find how we have to cite or how we have to write the units. And the other important one is not using tables which has complex components, like having 7 treatments, 8 locations, multiple years. So anything that has more than 3 component, if you have a table format, it really helps the readers to follow it up. So tables, figures, these are the very important aspect that can quickly pass through the reviewers. Because reviewers has to go through lots and lots of papers. So if you have a very good summary or figure table thing, that will really help you a lot to get your manuscript successful. And the fourth one, important one we found is wrong format for manufacturers. Sometimes it will be a TM trademark, sometimes it will be R, sometimes it will be R with a rotation. So you need to make sure you have to exactly follow the same abbreviation what they have written in the manufacturer's manual. Next one. And the other important one that we commonly make mistake is try to include all the data, because you really want to impress your supervisors. You really want to show that you have done so much of work, but that is not the case. You have to make sure whatever you have written, even if it's just one table or figure, you are able to provide a concrete message to the readers. For example, here you can see that both the title, both the table and the figure, it represents the same information. But you can clearly see that if I hide the map, this is not going to help you to find out. You need to work out how many recombinants are present for each of the marker and then where does the gene sits there, right? Whereas if you look at the figure, clearly you can see that CSQ16 and CSQ11 is the closest marker for the gene, and they are within the distance of 0.4 centimarker. So it's really just quickly you can get your answer what you want. Whereas if you find the table, I need to work out what are the different markers, what are the different lines that has a different answer compared to the resistance YR672, and then I need to work it out which one is there. So if I am in a rush, I feel like, oh, I'm not going to worry about this one. I'm not going to worry about this paper. So I'm not going to cite this paper, right? So it's almost right from article acceptance until citation. The way that you make it more simple for each of the readers to follow it up, that's the most critical point. Next one. So the most important one for results is include high quality figures and tables, right? I don't know how many of you feel like when you're looking for literature review, I always admire looking at the figures. If a review paper has a very good figure, I really rate that review article as the best one. Because seeing is believing, right? Everybody gets attached to the figures, right? That's where you can see all the cine stars, they really want to have a very big promotion, right? How big is the picture? How big is the trial, right? So it's the same case like for a article writing. The figure has to be stand on its own. It has to be a high quality one. So when you are submitting your manuscript, the first moment thing that attracts the editors or reviewer is the figure. The moment it attracts your attention, then they will think that, okay, this particular, because if you don't have a proper results, you will feel very uncomfortable, make a very quality figure, right? Because you don't have enough information to make sure this is the result you got it. Whereas if you have a concrete results and if you have a good figure, it really gives a very good impression for the reader that this is a quality paper that I really want to read or I really want to cite it. And then tables and figure has to be self-explanatory. If you have a figure, I should not go back to the materials and methods to look at it, what does the unit mean. It has to be self-explanatory. If you have a table, give it to your friends or read yourself. You feel like, can I understand the table? Can I understand the figure without going back to the materials and methods, without going back to the paragraphs? So from now on, when you are writing your thesis or when you are writing a paper, just give it to your friends. See that can they understand? Can they make any results out of your table or a figure? If they think that I can't understand, that means your figure or table is not self-explanatory. It has to be self-explanatory. It should have everything somebody wants to understand from your table or figure. And the third one, as I said before, as humans, we are more attracted towards image than text. So try to have as much figure or table as possible to avoid text. Text is something that everybody gets bored. And the final one, quality image really attracts reviewers. So whenever you are doing an experiment and when you feel like you had a very good results, try to capture image. Don't feel that, okay, I won't worry about the experiment now. I have to do a second replication or third replication. At that time, I can have a capture. Believe me, when I was doing my PhD, when I was trying to publish my first paper, I had a very poor quality image. The reviewer said that we need to have a high quality image. And then when I was trying to repeat the experiment, I had problems with my DNA because it has been stored for 2 years. I had problem with primers and I really spent 6 months to produce a quality image. But if I have taken a quality picture when the experiment worked at the first time, I would have avoided frustration because I was a bit worried if I'm not going to submit a quality image, my paper is going to be rejected. So it's a frustration, 6 months. So any experiment that you feel that it really worked well, try to make efforts to have a good quality picture right at the time. Don't wait for your second replication or third replication. Try to get images whenever you have a very good results. That is the uttermost important. Next one. And the other important one is the last one is the discussion. Don't forget to cite relevant studies. Almost if you see discussion and introduction, it's almost like a mirror image. In the introduction, you are going to say about what has been done in this area, what is missing, and how you are going to address the gap, right? Whereas in the discussion, you are going to do almost a similar one, but you are going to support based on what you have found it. And you are going to filter out based on that from the introduction, right? There will be some studies that is going to support your findings. There will be some studies that will be contrary to your research. Try to include everything. And the most important one, don't try to give negative impact for some of your earlier researchers. As I said before, if you are giving any negative impact on the previous studies, if one of them could be your reviewer, they are going to reject your paper. Because we all as a human want our study to be recognized by others. as the one of the best one, right? So try to be balanced. Never ever try to criticize early researchers' work, right? Every research, it took a lot of effort, right? So try to be gentle. Don't criticize too much about previous researchers. Even if it's a little bit negative or something different from your studies, try to be gentle. You can say that in contrast, Kumar et al. Has found this one. However, in our studies, we have found that this could be the reason that we got these results, or this could be the reason that the previous Kumar et al. Haven't done in detail, or something like that. Instead of saying that Kumar's work is rubbish, right? That's it. Your paper will be rejected straight away. So you need to really, really have a very balanced act that you have to recognize previous researchers' output. And then clearly that's where then try to avoid negative ones. And the third important one, future direction and additional experiments. Because sometimes you might have used a good technique like AI or machine learning, then you found that using AI and machine learning not only just enough to solve the problem, you need to do additional aspects. Be clear, be thorough that yes, we tried using this one, but it has solved only 50% of the result that we want. Further, more work is needed, and these are the other areas that we can improve this study. So discussion is all about just not only summarizing what you found, it also about future directions. What is important? What do you still have to include to make this area, research area, keep going on? So the ultimate goal of any paper is to solve a big problem in 50, 60 years time, right? But you are building knowledge step by step. You cannot just build the whole knowledge that you need for the final outcome. Just adding value addition. And the last one, to have a conclusion at the end. What you have found out, what is the missing thing, and what should be done. Next one. So the most important one that we always make errors is reference. These are just a few things that I have picked up, but there are lots and lots of things. The first important message that we always find is the formatting error. Because a lot of people, you might be using a lot of software online tools, right? So some of the online tools, they don't properly make the format that is required by the journals. It's always important to check manually whether the formatting is exactly the same that the journal is expecting. Don't just believe only on the software tools. And the next important one, missing or additional reference, because when you are submitting your manuscript, your supervisor or the collaborators might have deleted some of the reference. And then you might have forgot to cross check your reference at the end. Then there will be some reference missing, or there will be some additional reference that is not relevant to your paper. And this particular one really makes a misleading information for your editors or reviewers. That means they feel like you haven't done enough work, homework, to make a very good manuscript. We feel that you have done something in a rush. This is not the paper we want for our high impact journal. They straight away reject those ones. Otherwise, sometimes when the technical editors finds fault on that, it will really delay 3 months or 4 months to go to the next stage of going for a proper review. Until you fix all your technical errors, it doesn't go to the next stage. That's where sometimes some of the manuscript takes nearly 1 year, right from the first draft until acceptance. So if you try to avoid a lot of common mistakes that we have discussed now, it really speeds up your process. And the third important one is, as I said before, citing the online year instead of going for the volume and issue. And the other important one, now there are a lot of preprints, right? So just by copying the reference from a previous researchers, you try to include the preprint. But actually, if you see that, there will be an article based on the preprint published 6 or 7 months ago, right? But just we always blindly copy the. So the common mistake we normally see in reference is that copying the reference list from a different journal. So whoever has done mistake in those journal, it will be carried on. So you have to be very, very careful about citing preprint like BioXIV. And the other one, like as I said, copying reference from other journals. If somebody has done a mistake, by chance, your paper might have got into technical editor and it may got rejected. So make sure you give enough time to cross check whenever if you have the chance of copying from others. And the fourth one, italics of scientific names and genes. Definitely that is one of the most common errors, because if you are working in a pathology, there are a lot of pathology professors who are very, very particular about scientific names. So you have to make sure you give the latest scientific names in a proper italics. If you don't do that, they will get mad on your manuscript and they will straight away reject your things. And the last one, sometimes even writing the journal names mistake. And these days it's so hard because there are so many journals they try to mimic. For example, there is a journal called Gene. There is a journal called Genes. So definitely the journal Gene will be a high impact. So just to mimic the journal, there will be another journal who want to have it Genes. Just they try to, yes, Plant Biotechnology Journal, Plant Biotechnology. So there are a lot of mimicking names, journal names. So if you just miss out something, it totally changes or refers to a different journal. Next one. So, so the final take home message is try to avoid frustrations like this, right? So if you have all these mistakes and by chance, if you get the whole paper with a red ink or something, that's what makes you in your hostel, right? You will be frustrated. You feel like you are down. You don't have anything, right? You are useless, right? It's a very good illustration. You can see that responding to reviewers. If somebody got so much mistakes and things, because we are putting so much effort, not only at the time of writing a paper, right from the first day of your experiment, right? Even to produce the results, you need to work so hard, right? If you want to collect the data from orchard, you have to go during rainy season, during summer, you know, it's a lot of effort. Just by missing out the final important key points, you are going to end up in such a kind of frustrations. I hope what we discussed is also useful, and I'm really happy to answer any questions that you found out. And I'm going to share these slides to Karthi sir so he can share to everybody. If you avoid all the mistakes or errors that we had discussed, your paper, I'm bet that it can clearly pass through the first stage for review. Technical editors and then going for the selection of reviewers. More than 80% of the journals gets rejected at the technical error point. So, thank you.
Any doubt or any queries? Okay, no problem. Uh, if you have any doubt, please any queries, please let me know that is Dr. Samaswam Periyanan at usq@edu.au. You can contact him or you can search it in that website itself. It will come. You can ask him at anywhere, anytime. You can send a query. he will reply to you, no problem. If there is no any questions, we will conclude the right shop. First of all, I must thank Samasivam Periyanan. He's actually he's very busy with his personal commitment only. He's come a lot, past 3 years. He won't come this year only. He come back to India for his personal issue. But I would like to ask him. I asked him to address the students for to improve your writing skills, since he is editor in the American Pathology Society, and also that some other journals also, not only in that FMC, PMC plant biology and frontiers in plant biology, and many other journals also he is editor. In which, so that only I am asking him to address the students, since most of them are struggling for their submitting the research article. It's mandatory for you. So that only for addressing the issue only I ask him, since he has lot of experience in reviewing all the articles. As personally I know him, so that only I ask him to address the issues. Okay, I think it will be that useful for all of you. It may be eye-opening for you, that, or it may be that initial point. It's some of the mistake you should not be do for you are submitting your research paper during your review or research paper. So I thank Samasivam for your effort, as well as that detailed information to the students. And also I thank Dean SPGS. He is kind enough to permit to address this issue to all the students. And also it's a request from the Vice Chancellor. It's a dream of Vice Chancellor. Yesterday in that PG this board of studies, she insisting to utilize his SAM service, since he is available for a day today only, so that he can utilize him, and can make available to all the other campus students also, so that only we are making it as an online presentation also. So that I thank Vice Chancellor Madam for permitting us, as well as utilizing his service for the students' benefit. And also the PG Dean office staffs, they are very busy with the last 2 days. Even then, they are making the arrangements for this one. I thank PGD in office, and as well as that all the staff members and the student friends. Whatever the goal is to reach out the information to the students. Finally, all the students, those who are come over here and attend the workshop, I thank you all for your kind presence. And I am also little bit worry about you are not asking any question, so that you are really understand all the things, or you doesn't know about the things. So 2 questions is there. If it is positively, I take it out. We take it out as you are understanding all, everything is clearly. Okay. Thank you, one and all. I mean, you come over here. Thank you.